I believe in the beautiful message from Buddha that thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. Our next guest is the one who gave directions and enlightened many souls. I feel highly honored and privileged to welcome Swami Sarvapriyanandaji, whose gracious presence will inspire and enlighten us today. Swamiji belonged to Ramakrishna order. He has been minister and spiritual leader of the Vedanta Society of New York since 2017. He has given talks on Vedanta all over the world. His deep knowledge in Vedanta has illuminated many lives. Prior to his appointment in New York, he served as assistant minister of the Vedanta Society of Southern California. Swamiji joined the Ramakrishna Mission in 1994 and received sannyas in 2004. Before being posted to the VSSC's Hollywood Temple, Swamiji served as an acharya of the Monastic Probationers Training Center at Belor Math. Undoubtedly, he is the role model for his commitments and immense patience and responsibilities to scale greater heights. We are very fortunate to have him here on this occasion. So please welcome Swami Sarvapriyanandaji.
Namaste, everybody. I hope you can hear me clearly. So thank you for having me at this wonderful conclave. I really appreciate the idea and the spirit behind the conclave. The specific subject that I'm going to speak about is Vedanta and emotional intelligence. The story starts about 2 decades ago when Daniel Goleman, who is a household name almost by now, he became well known for introducing this new idea, emotional intelligence. He pointed out that IQ, the measure of intelligence, is not a good predictor of success. We all know stories of people who are very intelligent, very good as students, academically good, but did not perform too well, did not do too well in their organizational life, in their jobs or careers, at home, in their families. So intelligence by itself does not seem to have a high correlation with success in life. And Daniel Goleman, who is trained as a psychologist, he began to wonder what exactly are the qualities, are the practices and characteristics of a person which predict better success in life. And he found what is now called emotional intelligence. He popularized the term emotional intelligence, EQ. He saw that it is not just this verbal intelligence, analytical intelligence, but much more than this, a set of emotional and social characteristics which have a greater correlation with future success in life. He speaks about 5 components of emotional intelligence. So we will see how this is related to Vedanta, how in Vedanta these are cultivated and promoted, how these are necessary as a foundation to Vedanta, and finally at the ultimate level of Vedanta after enlightenment, how emotional intelligence is again vital for expressing enlightenment or manifesting or living that enlightened life. So what Daniel Goleman said was that he found one of the characteristics was self-awareness, the ability to be aware of one's own emotional states, to name one's emotional states, that to know when there is anger in the mind, to know that there is anger in the mind, when there is depression in the mind, to know that there's depression in the mind, to be aware of one's personal limitations, personal qualities, strengths and weaknesses. So this kind of self-awareness, this is one characteristic of emotional intelligence. A person who is otherwise very intelligent in academics may not have that, may not have a good understanding of oneself. The second characteristic, which he found very important, self-regulation. The ability to regulate one's mood, especially impulses. Some desire comes, whether it is to just go out and buy something from a shop, or to, if one is feeling angry, to lash out at somebody. So this kind of impulsive behavior, the ability to control that and regulate that, that is called self-regulation. Especially impulse control, the ability to hold back one's desires in check, the ability to postpone gratification. This is a term which is used often, that I want to enjoy things right now, but if I can hold back and devote my time to my studies or to some other productive endeavor like yoga or meditation, afterwards my happiness in life will be multiple. But till that time I must hold it back, postpone gratification. That's part of self-regulation. A third characteristic is motivation, the ability to have an internal source of motivation. People work for money, people work for appreciation from outside, but the ability to work from inside, to pursue one's goal, especially in the face of failure, anything difficult in the world or in one's own personal life, in spiritual life, the failure is bound to happen once in a while. So the quality which enables some people to persist and keep on working in spite of failure, while other people give up. So sometimes there are people who are very intelligent, but have a low tolerance of failure. They become bored easily, or they become frustrated easily, and they move on. Very intelligent, but they move on, and they do not succeed. Whereas a person who might not be so talented in other areas, might not be so extraordinarily, with a high IQ, but has a ability to persist. There's an old American saying, a big shot is a little shot who keeps shooting. So the ability to persist in the face of failure, and having an internal locus of motivation. It's not working just because people are praising me or people are going to give me some reward, but I love this subject, or I have this tremendous quest, a curiosity for knowledge. I remember last year at Harvard University, I attended a talk by Paul Steinhardt, a leading physicist in our world today. And he has discovered a very rare kind of crystal for which he was searching for more than 30 years. So I asked him, how do you keep more motivated? And he said, look, I told you my story about how I searched for this almost impossible to find kind of crystal for more than 30 years. My thing is to find an answer to my question. The scientific question which I'm posing, to find an answer to my question, I can go through that wall. He pointed to the wall of the lecture hall. Nothing will stop me. So that internal locus of motivation, no matter how difficult it is, how much people discourage you, so that having that internal locus of motivation and persistence in the face of failure, that is another characteristic of emotional intelligence. And a fourth characteristic would be empathy, the ability to know and recognize and feel other people's emotions, to recognize that. Empathy is different from sympathy. You may understand the other person is unhappy or disgruntled or irritated, while not feeling sympathy. One can at least the ability to understand the other person's emotional posture, the emotional content of that other person's behavior. That is empathy. That's another important component of emotional intelligence. And finally, there are certain social skills. Emotional intelligence includes the ability to work with teams, work well with others, adjust with others, the leadership ability to build teams, to motivate people, to persuade people. So some people have this kind of an ability. And so the combination of these 5 components, self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and this empathy, and finally a set of social skills, especially leadership skills. This is a much greater predictor of success in life than just intelligence or IQ or just doing well in examinations. In Vedanta, we talk about a set of disciplines very similar to this. It's interesting to note the similarities and the dissimilarities in this emotional intelligence. These are called the 6 disciplines or 6 treasures, Shat Sampatti. Before one enters into Vedantic inquiry, into self-inquiry, into who am I, what am I, one must first of all have Shama. Shama literally means a quietness, a quiescence, a calmness, a serenity of mind, not too much restlessness of mind. The continuous passing of thoughts and chasing after different thoughts, to quieten that down, that's an important practice. Calmness of mind. Then the second one is Damaha, the calmness or the control of the organs of action. The general restlessness which people have. I was reading a very funny, interesting news article about in the pandemic, people have not been able to travel for a long time. So I think in Australia or Singapore, they were advertising trips to nowhere. Trips to nowhere. You can buy a plane ticket and you will actually go to the airport and complete all the security and boarding and everything. Sit in the aeroplane will take off and fly round and round and round and then come back to the same airport. And people are buying tickets. The tickets are sold out. What does this mean? I'm so restless that I'm paying money just to move around, not to go anywhere even. This restlessness must be quieted. The holding back the organs of action, Damaha, organs of the sense organs, which tend to go out to their objects all the time, distraction. So this Damaha is a control, a restraint, a regulation of oneself. Then comes Titiksha. The word Titiksha means to put a spiritual fortitude, a kind of emotional toughness. When the world throws problems at us, there are obstacles from the world. Maybe my own body, I may feel ill, I may not feel energetic. My mind may not be interested all the time. In spite of the external problems, physical problems, mental problems, I am persisting in my spiritual quest, in my Vedantic quest. This spiritual toughness, this is an important discipline which is cultivated as a foundation to Vedanta. And then we have Uparati. Uparati means a reversal. Generally, the tendency is to flow outwards, a reversal of that to flow inwards, not to keep on indulging in external sources of pleasure and enjoyment, to find one's peace and joy within, in Vedantic study, in inquiry, in thought, rather than in external entertainment or engagement. Uparati. Once one has withdrawn from too much engagement with the world, that extra time, energy you devote to your Vedantic inquiry, to spiritual practice, that is called samadhana, settledness, focus. By the way, Daniel Goleman, who is very well known for emotional intelligence, his latest concern is this one, focus. He said that I've been observing and I've been told by parents, corporate leaders about the younger generation being so distracted by social media that he wrote a whole book on focus in the current situation. How to train attention, how to focus on one thing at a time. This is a fundamental discipline to be cultivated as a foundation for Vedanta. Samadhana, focus on spiritual practice, especially on Vedantic inquiry. Then you have Shraddha, which is a deep and abiding faith in what the teachings are telling you, so that you persist. You are motivated to continue persisting in Vedantic inquiry until enlightenment. So these are some of the practices, the 6 practices which are necessary for building a foundation to Vedantic inquiry. After this, one engages in Vedantic inquiry. One has a certain serenity of mind, Shamaha, one has certain control over, regulation over one's sense organs and motor organs, Damaha, one has Titiksha, that is spiritual toughness. Then one has, one cultivates Uparati, that not too much engagement in the world, flowing backwards. Then there is Samadhana, focus on Vedanta, training of attention, and Shraddha, a faith that this is going to lead me to enlightenment, to the highest purpose of human life. Then one engages in Vedantic, the core Vedantic practice of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. One studies the texts under a competent teacher, one hears the teachings of the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, studies the Brahma Sutras, and one is not only told, the unique method of Vedanta is not only they tell us that we are not the body, not the mind, deeper than the body, transcending the body and the mind, is awareness. Already here, we do not, our attention is drawn to it. We are not only told that you are awareness, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, my real nature is bliss, consciousness, awareness. Not only told that, we are shown. How are we shown that? Through Drigdrishya Viveka, Panchakosha Viveka, Avastatraya Viveka. How? For example, the seer and the seen. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, smell, taste, touch is an object to you, the awareness. It is not awareness itself. It is not the self itself. So things you see, they are apart from you. It's an object. I am the one who sees it. Apply that, you will see very soon not only external world is seen, but the body is also seen. What we normally think of, I am the body, but that's also an object which I see. And then look inwards, mind, thoughts, feelings, emotions, which I identify with myself. And most people, we just say we are the mind, embodied minds, person. But every characteristic of the person, everything about the mind is observed. You are able to observe your thoughts, feelings, emotions. That which observes the thoughts, feelings, emotions, which is not observed in itself, that which is ever the subject, never an object, that consciousness am I. And then we are asked to explore this consciousness. Can it change? No. Is it limited by body and mind? No. It is ever luminous? Yes. Does it have physical problem? It's not a physical thing. How will it have a bodily problem, physical problem, old age, disease, death? Does it have mental problems? It's the witness of the mind and its problems. How can it have problems? So this consciousness, which we are, it is shown to be free of problems, ever fulfilled. And the different methods, Panchakosha, Viveka, Avastatraya, all of us lead to this insight. This insight is called Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I thought I was this limited being, but now I realize right here, in this limited being itself, transcending it in and through this being, I am this unlimited consciousness. This Brahman, which name is Atman or Brahman, self or the ultimate reality. Now we are led to an appreciation of this. This is what we are. Panchakosha Viveka, the same thing, you see. Notice that the physical body, I thought I was the physical body. It is called a body of food, Annamaya, because it is a transformation of what we eat and drink. The same logic, that I am aware of it, it is not aware of me. I am the seer, this is the seen. I am conscious, it is not conscious. Therefore, I cannot be the body. Go inwards, draw your attention inwards into breath. The most obvious manifestation of prana is the breath, breathing in, breathing out. Since I'm aware of it, so it is continuously changing, and it is not aware of me. I am the one who is aware. It is the one which is an object which I am aware of. Being an object, I am the subject. Being changing, and I am unchanging. Being insentient, I am sentient. Therefore, I cannot be the breath. I cannot be prana. So pranamaya, that's another dimension of the being, but I am not it. It's part of the vehicle. It's part of the instrument. Subtler, look inwards. This mind, which is thinking, which is the emotions, perceptions, all of it in the mind, these are also objects. I am not them. I am aware of them. They are not aware of me. They are objects. I am the subject. They are continuously changing. And I am the one who sees all those changes. So therefore, with respect to the mind, I must be unchanging. I am, whatever I am, it is aware, it is unchanging, it is the subject, and the mind is an object, not aware in itself, and it is changing all the time. Therefore, I cannot be the mind. You go deeper, the intellect, the Vijnanamaya, Same reason, changing, non-changing, object and subject, aware, not aware. I'm just translating the Sanskrit, chit, jada, nitya, nitya, then drashta, drishya. I'm just translating from Sanskrit into English. Because of those reasons, I am shown that I cannot even be the intellect which I'm using right now to understand all this. That's also an instrument. That's also part of the body-mind complex, which I am not. Though I pervade all of it, I am working through it, or I'm shining through it. And then we are shown that deeper than the intellect, the Vijnanamaya, is deeper than that, is the blankness which you experience in deep sleep. When even the intellect is shut down, you do not disappear. There's an experience of blankness, an experience of absence, which we call deep sleep. That is called the Anandamaya. And again, that also I am not. I am the consciousness which experiences, pervades, enables, in one sense, utilizes all of these five sheets of the human personality: Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. The physical and the vital and the mental and the intellectual and the so-called bliss sheath. Same consciousness. By this method also you come to the same consciousness, and by this method of the Mandukya Upanishad, the three states of waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Our entire experience of life, phenomenologically, if you look at it, waking experiences, dream experiences, and blank, deep sleep. Physical, that is the waking state. Subtle, that is the dream state. And causal, which is the deep sleep state. All three come and go. I must admit that I experience all three. Am I not experiencing waking? Am I not experiencing dreaming? Am I not experiencing deep sleep? And deep sleep, I cannot say I'm experiencing deep sleep, but after waking up, I look back upon it and say, that too was an experience where since the mind was not functioning, the organs were not functioning, I could not think that I am sleeping, but it was still experienced in a certain sense. So I am the consciousness which illumines waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Now, once I understand this, then what? Then comes the stage of, so the first stage of hearing these truths, then we have got doubts, we ask the questions to the teacher, to the texts themselves raise many doubts which we might not have thought about. From our others, by the students who are studying with us, by thinking about it ourselves, most importantly, we come to clarity. All the doubts are resolved and we get conviction. This must be true. I must be the consciousness, which is the witness of all the seen. I'm the drashta and everything else is drishya. I am the one consciousness, which is illumining the five panchakoshas. And I am the one consciousness, which is illumining waking, dreaming, deep sleep. This conviction comes. Not only that, the Upanishad shows us that this consciousness is the fundamental reality of not only one body, but it is the one consciousness in all bodies and minds. It is the reality in which the entire universe is appearing. We are not separate consciousnesses in different bodies. That is also shown by Vedanta. Once this is clear, then we have to make it a living reality. One may still complain, I have read it, I have heard all the talks, I have read the books, and I have understood the arguments, and I believe it now, I'm convinced about it, but still not a living reality. It still feels like an intellectual, like a philosophy. That's all. You promised, I will solve my problems, I will attain peace and satisfaction, but that has not happened. I still feel unhappy. I still do not feel fulfilled. Then comes the stage of meditation, where we try to assimilate the knowledge which has been gained. The conviction which has been gained, we stay with that. Various meditation techniques are there. They are called nididhyasana, Vedantic meditation. So by this process of Vedantic meditation, Swami Vivekananda says, he calls it assimilation. Tell yourself again and again, you see that soham, I am he or I am that, until it tingles with every drop of your blood. So it becomes a natural identity. I am this witness awareness. Then what happens? This brings me to the final part of my presentation. Then comes what one might call an enlightened emotional intelligence. That which was started as a practice of mental serenity, shamaha, in order to build a foundation for Vedanta, now becomes a natural expression of my reality. I am Brahman. I am the unchanging existence, consciousness, bliss. Because of that, Why should there be any disturbance in my mind? My mind is shanta, peaceful, shitala, cool, all the time, cool. One great Swami, Swami Turiyanandaji, was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He was in Benares at one time, very ill in his old age. So another attendant asked him, Maharaj, are you suffering? Is it? He said that there is a suffering at the level of the body, but by the grace of God, internally, and he has blessed me internally, I have become, he says, like a block of ice. In Bengali, he said, borof kore diyechen. Like a block of ice means so cool, shitala, shanta within, that shama becomes an expression of my inner realization. There's no need to be mentally upset. There's absolutely no occasion. No matter what happens in the world, I alone am all of that. Ups and downs, I'm identified with all of that. They are part of me. And they are appearances, ultimately. They have no intrinsic reality. Damaha, control of the senses comes automatically. I don't need the senses to bring in things from the world outside, form, sight, sound, smell, touch, for my fulfillment. I'm ever fulfilled. I'm the complete Purnam, the Atman, not as a slogan, not rhetorically. I see it. So that becomes the source of my fulfillment. Atma Ratihi. So Uparati means withdrawing from the external engagements, not trying to get pleasure from outside, withdrawing in order to pursue Vedantic inquiry. But after I realize the real nature of the Atman, that Uparati becomes Atmarati. Atmarati means deriving the joy, the fulfillment from one's unlimited nature. That everything I experience in the world is my radiance, the radiance of Brahman, of Atman. I'm one with everything and one with everybody. That becomes a source of greatest satisfaction. You see, our problem is we are infinite, and we are seeking satisfaction in finite things. Never can we find them. Whatever we find in the world, as Sri Ramakrishna said, there are like a bunch of zeros. More you accumulate zeros, objects, gadgets, money, people, relationships, power, like a bunch of zeros. More you accumulate them, you still end up with zero. That fulfillment will not come. But there is one. If you put one before the zeros, then everything gets value. 1 0 will become 10, 2 zeros will become 100, and so on. That one is Brahman or Atman, our real nature. When we realize that, then everything else becomes absolutely acceptable to us. There's no resistance. All the pleasant things you enjoy and all the unpleasant things which will come in life, they will come because of past karma. When they come, we will have the strength, the peace, and the stability. Gita says, Yasmin sthito dukkhena gurunapi na vichalyate. Established in which realization one is not shaken by the deepest of sorrows. So that will happen. That is called Uparati and then Titiksha. Titiksha, what started as a practice of putting up with trouble in order to remain motivated to achieve our goal, that becomes a natural expression of that I am beyond sorrow. Let the waves of sorrow come, I will not be shaken. Established in which the gravest of sorrows, the worst of disease and loss and pain and frustration and failure, which may come in life, to some extent comes in everybody's life, you're not shaken by it. You're not swept away by it. What started as Shraddha, a deep faith that this must be true, there is something worthwhile here, now becomes fact, Nishtha. Nishtha means you are centered in the truth. Ultimately, effortlessly centered in the truth. This effortlessly centered in the truth is called Jivan Mukti, enlightened while living. So this is also part of the emotional intelligence which comes after enlightenment, after Vedantic enlightenment. And then the samadhana, the focus, what used to be an effort. I must concentrate my mind, otherwise mind will get scattered. But now, yatra yatra mano yati, tatra tatra samadhaya. Whatever you experience in the mind, in the world, and wherever the mind goes, whatever you think about, there itself you see the same reality, Brahman shining forth. Satchidanand is everywhere. No matter which golden ornament you see, necklaces and bracelets and rings, you are seeing gold. No matter what kind of pot you see in the pottery barn, jars and little pots and big pots and so on, you're seeing clay. No matter what kind of wave you see in the ocean, the tsunami, big tsunami wave, or a little bit of a bubble, it's the same water. Similarly, in every experience, one experiences Brahman. It's a natural focus. It's called Sahaja Samadhi, a natural Samadhi. One is established in Brahman vision effortlessly by nature. So that is the kind of emotional intelligence. So my point here was, emotional intelligence is there cultivated in the beginning of a Vedantic inquiry as the Shat Sampatti, the sixfold disciplines, sixfold treasures. Daniel Goleman pointed out another interesting thing about EQ versus IQ. IQ cannot be increased. I am blessed with whatever I have. Generally it cannot be increased. That's what psychologists tell us. But EQ can be cultivated. Emotional intelligence can be cultivated. Vedanta says these 6 treasures have to be cultivated. They can be cultivated and they have to be cultivated. The quality of our life improves, quality of our spiritual practice improves. And after we make the spiritual breakthrough and we begin to see Aham Brahmasmi, our paradigm shifts, not body, not mind. I am the witness consciousness. I am the reality in which this entire universe, including body, mind, appears. Then this emotional intelligence itself enables me to manifest my realization. That is real spirituality. Not just studying Vedanta, not even just arguing and thinking about it, not even meditating upon it, but ultimately after the realization, the breakthrough comes, living it. It must be expressed in my thinking, in my talk, and in my actions, in my reactions to the world also. So emotional intelligence in that sense, it is called Jivan Mukti, enlightened while living. So I think we have about 15 minutes or so left. If there are questions, I think this is a good time to stop and take questions. What do you think?